If you're done with life where you're currently living and cannot get ideas of moving to the Caribbean and living the dream out of your head, stay tuned because in this video, I'm going to talk you through the 5 easiest ways to secure citizenship in the Caribbean. With the cost of living going up in many places around the world and political instability, there is nowhere that pictures ease more so than the Caribbean. But what does it look like to actually move to the Caribbean, and how can someone go about making that a reality? It's a question that I get asked repeatedly. So in this video, I'm going to break down exactly what it looks like to secure citizenship and give you a rough overview as to the processes and options that are available to you. Because the first thing you need to do is actually clarify, what do we mean by the term Caribbean or Caribbean for those of you in the US? In this video, I'm going to focus specifically on the English-speaking former colonies, which come under the bracket of CARICOM countries. So if you're looking at St. Croix or the ABC Islands or Mexico or Panama, that's not the Caribbean that we'll be discussing in this video, but if places like Jamaica, Trinidad, St. Vincent, etc. are of curiosity to you, I'll give you a very broad overview as to the options that you have so that you understand what your move could potentially look like. So the first and arguably the easiest option that you have for securing citizenship in a Caribbean nation is to be born there. But wait, don't click off. Don't get me wrong. I am not encouraging you to rock up and give birth like this lady decided to give it a try a few years ago. Birth tourism is not something that I'm trying to encourage, but in pretty much all instances, being born in the Caribbean gives you the right to citizenship, which then gives you the ability to apply for a passport, which then opens up visa-free travel to multiple countries around the world. A number of Caribbean islands have quite attractive tax benefits, but also it's just a really beautiful place to live and to be able to grow and nurture yourself in nature that is generally quite stunning. Which then leads me on to the second way to secure citizenship. This would be citizenship by descent. Now, in a recent video, I have had over 500 comments with people wanting to know the ins and outs, and the exact procedures vary from island to island. But in pretty much all cases, if your parent was born on a Caribbean island within a CARICOM state, that then gives you the option to apply for citizenship by descent. In some instances, Jamaica, for example, it is possible to apply for a grandparent, and that also is the case on other islands as well. But it's an option that you guys are sleeping on. It is an option that this channel primarily is engaged in conversations around, and I think options are essential in this time and age. And doing what you can to make sure that you start making those researches, making those calls, and securing those options for you is something that I would highly, highly recommend. The third option is citizenship by naturalization. Now, again, this varies from island to island and state to state, because I'm not forgetting my Guyanese and Belizean and Suriname folks who are in the Caribbean but do not live on an island. But generally, you will find that after a certain period of time of residing in a country, once you have secured permanent residence, you will then be able to apply for citizenship by naturalization. Now, the exact period of time, as I say, does vary. It could be anything from 5 years and up. But if you don't necessarily have the luck to be born in the Caribbean, or have the luck to have a parent or a grandparent who was born in the Caribbean, being based in the country, spending the required amount of time in the country to qualify for residence and then to qualify for naturalization is a longer term way. Slightly slower, but it is a way to be able to secure citizenship in the Caribbean, in a CARICOM state. So that is also something that you can start researching if you are looking for options, but your budget is a little bit smaller and you are flexible as to what your pathway can look like. Option number 4 is marriage. Now, we've watched so many movies about people getting married to get passports, and typically, often in the movies, it's people from developed countries who want to marry someone from the UK or the US or some developed state in order to be able to escape to a new life elsewhere. But the same also can work in reverse. If you are brave enough to decide to marry someone from the Caribbean, you will then have the option to be able to apply for citizenship by virtue of being married to someone from that nation state. And again, from island to island, from country to country, it does vary. The process can be anywhere from 1 to 3, maybe 4 years. But that is also an option worth exploring. If you are in a relationship with someone and you are thinking about moving, understanding what your pathways to be able to reside in their country and to be able to secure citizenship is definitely something worth exploring. I could say more, but I'll leave it there. And option number 5, this one is probably the most typical one that you hear of that does have a lot of a reputation around it. People have very strong opinions as to whether it's a good thing, whether it's a bad thing. Are we selling out our nation states? But the Caribbean is home to citizenship by investment. St. Kitts and Nevis was one of the first states to start allowing people overseas to be able to purchase passports by their citizenship by investment scheme. And this does remain, decades later, an option for those of a higher bank balance to be able to purchase citizenship, which they can then add to their passport portfolio, which then opens up a multiplicity of options. In most instances, people who purchase citizen by investment do not reside in said country. It's typically used as access to other states that might not be accessible with their current passport portfolio. But more and more, as things are changing, people are beginning to think about being able to reside elsewhere. And for those who don't want the hassle of having to marry someone or having to wait multiple years in order to get citizenship by naturalization, fast-tracking that process and just buying a passport is something that is available. Now, am I saying it's a good thing? No. Am I saying it's a bad thing? Not necessarily. I will reserve my opinions, but I'm just laying it out there as an option. And for some of you, it is one that you have chosen to explore. And as long as nation states keep putting it out there, it is an option that is worth looking into, both as a citizen of said country, so that you are holding your government to account as to how those monies are used, and also for someone who wants to be able to have options as to where they reside and where they can travel to. So those are the 5. There are other ways in order to be able to reside in the Caribbean. Citizenship is not the only way, and that's something that I say again and again and again. There are many other options. Residency is a way to be able to live elsewhere without securing citizenship. But citizenship in the Caribbean is a question that I get asked most often. We will talk citizenship before we then explore the other options. So to just put it all out there for you, so you never have to ask me again, these are the broad strokes that you have when it comes to exploring your options if you want to be able to live in the Caribbean as a citizen. So I hope that helps. For those of you exploring citizenship by descent, I am putting a link to that resource down below that should help you to be able to get your broad bearings as to where to turn. And yeah, it's a conversation that is an uncomfortable one because citizenship, identity, nationality is something that people are very passionate about, especially in small island states. But getting the information out there is really important, and letting you know what your options are so that you know how to explore and proceed is something that I'm really passionate about. So yeah, let's start talking. Let's see what your options are. And then that gives you the opportunity to move in whichever way is most appropriate for you. Hope that helps. Take care.